Video game journalists are the bottom of the barrel individuals, and unfortunately, they have a lot of influence on our industry in totality. But now we're finding out that Vox Media, who of course owns sites like The Verge and Polygon, are laying off 4% more of their staff in a second round of cuts this year, and I can't say that I feel all that bad. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube membership. Now, obviously, it's never fun to lose your job, and it is never fun to mock people who are losing their jobs. But when it comes to video game journalists, I really can't feel that bad, because if they were actually doing their jobs and not attacking the very people they need to write for, they probably would have jobs. But it says Vox Media lays off 4% of staff in second round of cuts this year. The company's union objected, noting that journalists covering things like climate change, policy, and tech are among those affected. So Vox Media let employees know Thursday that it was laying off 4% of its staff. The layoffs are primarily in its product design, technology, and analytics team. This reflects continued turmoil in advertising and the need to build even more loyal audience relationships, given the increasing volatility of search and social media platforms, among other factors. Now, I have had to talk a lot over the past few months to a year about video game journalists being laid off, more specifically also some sites like Jezebel's, lots of people being laid off, sites being closed, sites being up for purchase. But when it comes to something like Vox, they truly are the bottom of the barrel. If you do not know all of the different sites they own things like Pop Sugar, The Cut, Vulture, but then we get into the video game sides of things like The Verge and also Polygon, who in the video game industry are, in my opinion, not the worst, because they're definitely not, in my opinion, the same level as like Kotaku, but they're definitely right up there, okay? They are not for gamers, they are not for us, they are for companies. These are two of the most shill websites possible. If you go to Polygon, all of their articles are either sponsored or they're promoting a product. Same with The Verge. These are, again, sites that do love to defend the companies who unfortunately do not love their consumers. They do not stand up for the average gamer and what we want. They laugh at us when we talk about censorship. They laugh at us when we call out things like disgusting microtransactions in games, and they really don't care. But there was also this article from Polygon back, 2.5 or so weeks ago. It says video game company layoffs are creating an industry crisis. All I have to say is boo hoo, cry me a river, and float upstream, because if you were doing your job properly, if you were doing your job at least all right, you would not be facing this issue. Now, I understand that when it comes down to it, the higher ups at these companies, at something like Vox, they are looking at a way to save money. And we have heard a lot about, sites going to AI writers, and you're going to have AI writing articles, but then a real human being editing it and then shipping it off, putting their name on it and saying, hey, this is a full article. But well, I don't really think it's going to save any of the sites that are trying to do that, just judging by the types of content that they want to cover. They are not, again, covering industry issues like companies being very scummy, full price AAA $70 video games releasing buggy and broken and in the worst state possible. They're not worried about how microtransactions are killing what could be genuinely good products. They are worried about things like, diversity, or how gamers are terrible people in their eyes. These are things that these sites are constantly whining about. And unfortunately, they are not doing anything to save this industry they claim to care about. Again, this is an article from Polygon, which focuses more on the game development side of things. And I definitely have a little bit more sympathy for game developers because they are the ones who are being forced to crunch, and they have these unsustainable timetables that they have to follow. And unfortunately, when a game launches, like something like a Cyberpunk 2077, and we have developers saying it's not ready, but higher ups at the company forcing them to release it, it is their reputation that is on the line. But when it comes to video game journalists, again, I just don't really have a lot of sympathy for them because they are not for us. They are not for gamers. They just want the industry to be the way that they feel it should be, aka more diverse, more inclusive. They think that developers ultimately should be forced to follow checklists when it comes to video games. Like, these people just do not want what is best for the industry to be, at the forefront of people's attention. And, game layoffs have been happening. It is inevitable in an industry that, is growing. We have companies that are looking for ways to save as much money as possible. I mean, the video game industry is absolutely massive, and when it comes to all of these sites, they've become extremely irrelevant. Look at what I am sitting here doing right now. Instead of going to, a Kotaku or a Polygon or a PC magazine site, you are sitting here listening to me, in my opinion. And with the rise of things like social media and individuals having their own opinion, you have these journalists who become less and less relevant. And even this article from PC Magazine from the beginning of the year just highlights how out of touch these individuals are. Game journalism layoffs, everyone suffers without expert criticism. The issue is that you guys really are not experts. You are individuals who are giving opinions, but not very good opinions that people generally do not agree with. And we would be here for weeks if I sat and tried to point out every example of a video game journalist being an activist. That is all that they wish that they could be, is a full-blown activist who could get hired at a political website like a Politico, because that's all that they really care about. They came into the gaming industry because they viewed it as an open market, because they viewed it as having a lot of potential, and because they did see the way that the industry was growing, so they figured, I'm going to become a video game journalist. And that is why people laugh at these individuals, because they aren't truly game journalists. They are activists. At the end of the day, all they care about is changing the industry, again, in a way that they view as progressive. And unfortunately, I don't have any love in my heart for these individuals. Yeah, if you had asked me a decade ago what I thought about video game journalists, I wouldn't have that big of a problem, right? Because that was when it was the beginning of the end, right before Gamergate, before you had so many activists forcing their way into this industry. And now that these individuals are being laid off, they really have no allies. They have nobody on their side going, no, these people are important. They deserve to keep their job, because they have dug themselves into such a large hole they could not even find a way to climb out of it if their lives depended on it. But yes, now we are finding out that Vox Media is laying off even more individuals, and it is inevitable that the Polygons and the Verges are going to be facing even more layoffs as the months continue. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.